Listen, I failed math in college, but nevertheless, I was crunching the numbers today. I was looking at some of the charts, looking at EPAs, looking at matchups, over unders, and I have 7 running backs today that I think are going to smash in week 10. Some of them are super obvious. You're starting them anyway, but I just want to give you guys a little bit of confidence. Maybe you're making parlay bets, or maybe you just have a lot of depth at the position and you're really debating between a couple of guys. Before I get into the video, I want to show you guys this chart. This is from Hayden Winks. He does these charts every single week. He's one of the best follows on Twitter. If you like this kind of stuff, if you like data and advanced stats, it's just the week 10 rushing matchups. He does EPAs, so rushing EPA on offense versus rushing EPA on defense. And that gives us just a little snapshot of like which are the eruption spots, which teams are going up against bad defenses, that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like the beginning of this research. Then I looked at over-unders, how many fantasy points these defenses are giving up the last couple of weeks. Or I looked at 2, 4, and on the season. All right, we're going to start this video with 2 guys. It's Swift and Monangai. We got the Bears versus the Giants. I have both of them because there's still a little bit of uncertainty about Swift. He says he's going to play himself, but you just never know, man. I mean, Kyle Monangai was running hot, dude. He's looking good. Coaching staff did say that he might have earned himself more work, and it was already kind of headed that way, right? So they had the bye week in week 5, and pretty much from week 6 on, we see like an increasing workload on Monangai, right? He had 5 carries, then 13, then down to 7, unfortunately, then up to 26. Obviously, he got the start. He had 31 touches, guys, and he was just gashing them. The Giants are 31st in rushing yards allowed on the season, 32nd in rushing EPA allowed. I'm going to be referencing EPA a lot in this video. It's essentially just expected points added based on the play. So that's just like a nice little metric where we want to see per touch how bad is the defense, or per touch how bad is the offense. And since the bye week, as I mentioned, they've been leaning on the run, man. This is a team that really wanted to become a good run team. Their offensive line is playing well. Kyle Monangai on the Bengals, who are the Bengals, let's be honest, he went for like 1,000 total all-purpose yards in that game, dude. He was just gashing them. Anytime the game came on red zone, it was just Kyle Monangai putting his nuts on a Bengals defender. Swift is questionable, guys, but he's expected to play. So even if Swift plays, I'm starting both of these guys. They're top 30 plays against a really bad defense in a game that they're most likely going to win. And if Swift sits, I got Monangai personally as a top 10 play, right? I would say that if Swift and Monangai are both playing, I'd probably rank Swift in like the top 15, and I'd put Monangai at like probably 26 or 27, somewhere in there, where you can probably still start both of them. Monangai more of a flex, Swift probably like a top 15 play. Next up, we got Aaron Jones for the Vikings versus the Baltimore Ravens. They're at Baltimore, right? So the Baltimore Ravens have a bad defense, and that is a sentence you can only utter every few decades, it seems. Against the run, they're 26th worst in rushing EPA allowed, 20th worst in rushing yards allowed, and 23rd worst in rushing touchdowns allowed. So they just get gashed on the ground, man. This is just a run defense that cannot stop the run. And teams know that if they want to keep the ball away from Lamar Jackson, they need to run the ball, right, to keep the ball away from him. Now, Aaron Jones came back from his annually scheduled injury that he has every single season, and he was instantly their best running back by a long shot, dude. So he went 9 for 78. That's 8.67 yards per touch. And then he goes 2 for 20 in the air. We do know that like receiving work is a big part of Aaron Jones's profile. Jordan Mason, he went 10 for 36 in this game. And this is a game that they were winning, man. Keep in mind, I know it's against the Lions, and Aaron Jones has more of a profile that can beat a team like the Lions as like a pass catching, more shiftier back, while Jordan Mason is getting just like the grindy between the tackles touches, right? That's just to be expected against a team like the Lions. Just a small side note, I'm kind of surprised how bad Jordan Mason was in that stretch, man. When Aaron Jones was out, Jordan Mason was really not very usable. Kind of sucks. I was expecting him to be a lot better for like a team that was, really good in the past. Maybe it has to do with Carson Wentz. I don't know. Now let's keep in mind, man, the Vikings are coming off a big win, so they're feeling themselves. And the Lions have a much better defense than the Ravens. Now I expect the Ravens, they're probably going to win the game. They're probably going to be ahead, which is probably even better for Aaron Jones, right? Because as we know, he does have that receiving profile. If Jordan Mason is going to be struggling to run the ball, playing from behind, maybe he's not even in the game, right? I do think it's going to be another Aaron Jones game. At the end of the day, the Ravens defense is bad. So this is a situation where we're expecting the Ravens to win, but there is a chance here that the Vikings do what they did to the Lions, man. They get off to a fast start. They put points on the board when they're in the red zone, and they just play with the lead, man. And then I do think Aaron Jones is going to be very involved. All right, next we got Rico Dowdle against the Saints. The Panthers last week went up against a very scary, very stout Packers defense. Every fantasy idiot, including myself, was saying we need to be sitting Dowdle, fade him if you can. We know he's going to get the work, but he's probably not going to do much against the Packers. Well, he went for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 25 touches. Listen, I was not aware of Rico Dowdle's game. I didn't know he was a combination of LaDainian Tomlinson, Jamal Charles, and Captain America. So the dude's an absolute beast, man. Listen, I guess he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I did not know that. He looked pretty mid the rest of the season before he got that Miami start. But nevertheless, he's probably a top 5 running back rest of the season. I know that sounds super hyperbolic, like I'm exaggerating, like, prisoner of the moment type shit. But if he did what he did against the Packers, man, he's for real, dude. He's just going to get 25 plus touches. Look, at the end of the day, when you have a running back who's going to be getting 27, 20, 30 touches in some of these games, he's going to be like a top 5 guy if he's efficient on his touches, which he is, right? His yards per carry is insane. Look at all the green right here. Look, the Panthers are 6th best in rushing EPA per play offensively, 3rd in total rushing yards, going up against kind of a tough opponent. The Saints are actually 8th best in rushing EPA allowed. So the Saints are actually a surprisingly decent defense in stopping the run. But this is like a really good EPA team versus a pretty good EPA team defensively as well. So we need to see something has to break here, right? Unstoppable force, immovable object, all that type of shit. If he was able to beast and feast on the Packers, I expect him to probably dominate the Saints. I expect the Panthers to win the game, dominate the Saints, and I think it's going to potentially be another multi-touchdown Rico Dowdle day. Next up, we got Quinshon Judkins. I fucking need this man to pop off this week. He's like my only running back right now. Judkins was removed from the injury report on Wednesday. We know he had the shoulder injury before the bye week. I think that probably implies he's 100%, right? If he had the super early removal on the injury report, that probably implies he's good, right? He's probably healthy. Now, making a Cleveland Brown like a smash start, one of my starts of the week, it's a risky game to play, definitely. Especially because the Browns essentially tell Judkins to hit the showers anytime they're losing a game, man. It's kind of frustrating. In these games where he played less than 40% of the snaps, that was a game that they were losing, right? They could not run on Pittsburgh, so they just stopped using him. They just took him out of the game. And then we get the smash play against Miami. Obviously, everybody eats Miami. And then against New England, man, again, struggling to get anything on the ground, gets the injury. They just hold him out of the game. So I want to see what happens coming out of the bye. Hopefully the team just learns that he's just a good football player. Keep him on the field. But in this game specifically, we got Browns versus Jets. The Jets had a garage sale, dude. They traded away their best cornerback, their best interior defensive lineman. Quinnen Williams was their run stopper. He was one of the better defensive players against the run in the NFL, and now he's gone. And before the trade, so when they had Williams and Sauce Gardner, they were 24th worst in rush EPA allowed, 24th worst in rushing yards allowed. I kind of expect the Browns to win this game. So we have a situation where we have the favorites, the Browns, against a team who was already bad against the run, who just got worse, right? So I expect them to at least, if not win the game, it'll at least be a tight game, maybe a back and forth game. That might actually even be good for a guy like Quinshon Judkins, where, they have to maintain kind of the level of effort. While if it's a blowout, if the Jets just get, the brakes blown off them, which I can't see that happening with Dylan Gabriel. But nevertheless, man, he's just a smash start here. But next, guys, the next 3 names that I'm going to list to you guys, we're going to breeze through them because these are smash starts. You're starting them anyway, but I just want to talk about why you should be extra confident. The first one is going to be James Cook, guys. This one is super easy. Going up against the Dolphins, 27th worst in rush EPA allowed, 30th worst in rushing yards allowed. And remember, Rico Dowdle in his origin story game went for like 8,000 all-purpose yards against them in one singular game. So the Bills are 8.5-point favorites, a 50.5 over under. It's a divisional game, dude. Anything can happen. The Dolphins have kept games close before, right? I think the first meeting that they had with the Dolphins when it was Bills Dolphins, that was actually a closer game than expected. So I do want to preface, man, that Ray Davis is also a speculative dude to make sure you guys add and keep on your bench just in case, because James Cook did not practice on Wednesday. He had an ankle injury. He got rolled up on. It was like a hip drop. I've watched the tape. It looked pretty bad at the time, but it happened in the first quarter and he continued the game and he had like 27 carries, I believe. He had like 28 touches. Still was a beast in this game. But I just want to say, man, on the sideline, he was getting taped up a lot. It was a massive game against their rivals, right? It was against the Chiefs. So maybe after the game, maybe the soreness kicked in, maybe the adrenaline wore off. So we need to see the practice reports. That makes Ray Davis a very good start as well. I already told you guys the numbers about the Dolphins. Absolute smash start. All the unemployed dudes on Twitter who cosplay as doctors, they're saying that it was a much worse injury than they're letting off, and that they're speculating that there's a chance it might sideline him, especially because they're such big favorites. I think they can win the game without Cook. And this is a team that has, Super Bowl aspirations, so it'd be probably in their interest to make sure he's healthy going into the playoffs. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say that he plays. I do want to say that last season when Ray Davis did get the start, it was in week 6. He went for 16 fantasy points. He had 20 for 97 and then 3 for 55 through the air. So he was very usable, very serviceable. He is the backup. It's not going to be Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson is kind of like Justice Hill. He's like the third down back. His role is not going to really change. The reason he's been playing more than Ray Davis as of late is because that's his role, right? Ray Davis is simply a handcuff, simply a backup to Cook. not to Ty Johnson. So if that makes any sense, let me know what you guys think. Next up, we got Devon Achane, guys. In the same game against Buffalo, he's a smash start every week. But this week, the Bills' run defense has been really bad, dude. 29th worst in rush EPA allowed on the season, 26th worst in rushing yards allowed, and 31st worst in rushing touchdowns allowed. That's kind of a mouthful there. They're giving up a shit ton of touchdowns on the ground, dude. I did not actually know that. That was actually very surprising to me. And Achane is a stud, dude. It's all season. I think this is going to be a vintage game from Achane, dude. He's been great every week. He's yet to have less than 11 fantasy points on the season, which is kind of crazy. Like a 25 plus point performance is in the cards. We know he's got massive receiving upside. I mean, 10 targets in the last game is insane. And just one last cherry on top, guys. 27th worst in fantasy points allowed to running backs the last 4 weeks. That's the Bills. So if you want to beat the Bills, your best chance is to keep the ball away from Josh Allen. Try to have long drives, and the way to do that is to get the run game going. So maybe Devon Achane has a vintage game in this one. I really hope he does. And we end this list with the number 1 ranked running back in my rankings this week. It is Jonathan Taylor. Listen, the last 4 weeks, Atlanta has been the second worst team against running backs. They're giving up 32 fantasy points a game on average to running backs. Indianapolis are 6.5 point favorites in this one. It's a 48.5 over under. He's my number 1 guy. Number 1 guy, absolute smash start in this one. I think he's going to have another multi-touchdown game. Coming off a poor game, right? I think they're going to want to get him going into the bye week. They're just going to feed Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to have an absolutely smash game in this one. Now, those were the starts. Those are the running backs that I want to start. Make sure you guys go to the Discord. I'm going to have my running back rankings in there. You can grab them. They're fully free. They're just going to be on Discord. I want to quickly talk about some of the guys that I'm a little bit concerned about, right? So based on my rankings, as I said, I was crunching the numbers. These are some guys that have some pretty difficult matchups, man. And the first one on this list that I want to highlight is going to be Quinshon McCaffrey, dude. Going up against the Rams, it is a very bad matchup, dude. The Rams have one of the best defenses in the league. They're like number 1 in rush EPA, number 1 in success rate allowed. They're a tough defense. Now, I'm not saying to bench Quinshon McCaffrey, but I will say he's not in my top 3 this week. I know that's kind of dumb. I mean, Quinshon McCaffrey and the Shanahan 49ers are definitely a team that can overcome a good defense, but that's one where I'm ranking him down this week because I do think the Rams are a defense not to be trifled with. The next one is Bijan Robinson in that same matchup against the Colts. They're massive underdogs, right? It's a decent over-under, but they're underdogs. And the Colts are actually a difficult matchup for running backs on the season. We look further down the rankings here. We got Breece Hall against Cleveland. That's an auto fade. That's someone who Cleveland has really, really made it tough on running backs. And in a game where they're probably going to lose, Isaiah Davis is taking a lot of third down work. Breece Hall is somebody that I'm worried about. I have him down outside of the top 15. And a couple other names that I'm concerned about. We got Tracy against the Bears. It's a difficult matchup. The last 4 weeks, the Bears have been a top 5 team against running backs. Woody Marks against Jacksonville. They've also been a top 5 team against running backs the last 5 weeks. And then Bill Krosky Merritt going up against Detroit. That is a difficult matchup for running backs, especially someone like Bill, who is the between the tackles early down back. The Detroit Lions are just really good against those types of running backs. That does it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you. I genuinely do appreciate it. You can be watching so many other videos. You chose to watch mine from a very small 2,100 sub channel. I genuinely do appreciate it. Make sure you guys join the Discord, man. I got my rankings in there, dude. Everything's color-coded. You can see who has good matchups, bad matchups. You can compare my rankings to some of the other rankings. And then, at the end of the week, you can see how they perform. That does it, man. Like the video if you do like it. Subscribe. It's the best way to show support if you want to catch more of this stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.